The Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission, Department of Parks and Recreation in Prince George's County wants to be your one-stop shop for fun and fitness at home. Let's live more, play more indoors.
Hi, my name is Ray and I work with the Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission with the Department of Parks and Recreation in Prince George's County, Maryland. I hope everyone is staying safe out there. I've been at home a lot and I started growing a garden from my front porch. And I want to share with you how I was able to do that. But first, why did I choose a raised bed and why did I choose to grow a garden on my front porch? Well, as you'll see, my house I live in a place that's very hilly and with a lot of trees. And so the root systems are everywhere in my yard, which makes it very difficult for me to dig in and plant vegetables because there are so many, so many roots. Also, there's too much shade. Again, I said I live with a lot of trees, a lot of shading, and I needed a lot of sunlight in order to grow my vegetables. And so that's why I chose to start my garden and grow my garden on my front porch. It just was the best spot based on the situation that I live in. This might work for folks who live in apartments, if they have some access to like a little veranda or a little outdoor space. So I chose to do something like this for those reasons. I didn't really have much of a backyard or backyard soil to work with. But before, I'm going to walk you through the process that I took for growing my little garden, my vegetable garden. But before we go any further, I just wanted to share some of the basics. For example, while I'm going to be talking about vegetable gardens, a lot of what I'm sharing can also be applied to planting flowers. So before you start planting, it's really important to know the difference between native plants and non-native plants. Native plants are native to the area that you live in. Some of these native plants are ferns, black-eyed Susans. These types of plants grow very well and are native to Maryland. Also, native plants, they are well adapted to local conditions. So you probably don't need to use a lot of pesticides. Don't need to use them at all. They're great with extracting water, using the water that's given. They don't need a lot of extra water. They're great pollinators. They attract birds. And they're shelter and food for wildlife. So native plants are definitely the way to go. They're really great for the environment. And also something to consider is what zone we live in, planting zone we live in Maryland. So there are hardiness zones, which basically are guidelines of temperatures that plants can survive in. In Maryland, we live, the zones the types of plants that can grow in Maryland are from zones 5B to 8A. So when you're looking at plants, just check to see what zone does this plant grow well in. If it grows in a 1B area, it's probably not going to do very well. But if it grows in like a 7A area, that is within the range of plants that can grow in Maryland. So that would be something that you can consider planting in Maryland. All right, so now that we kind of have an idea of the basics, the next thing you want to think about when you're planting or before you start planting, so you've bought your seeds, how can I keep this plant going and growing and thriving? You really need to look at the back. The back of your seeds will have all of the planting instructions. So it'll tell you this needs to grow in full sun, in well-drained soil. You need to space the seeds 6 to 9 inches. So each seed packet is going to have different instructions, and it's really, really important that you read them before because it'll help you figure out where I should place my garden, where I should start planting. Now, how I started my little garden, my little porch garden. I went online and I got myself a little fresh veggies kit, if you can see. And in this kit, it came with some pellets, seeds, and a couple pots. And so I started my seeds inside because it was still too cold for me to just plop them right into the soil. So I started them in those little pods, and you'll see me planting the seeds in it. And I just did this so that they could sprout inside while I was waiting for it to get warmer. While this was all happening, I started building my bed. So I went online and I found a pretty cost-effective raised bed, which you'll see me assembling. And they have varying prices, so you can choose what works with you. It was a very simple setup. And once that was all set up, I went and I ordered 3 soil bags. They have some that are great for raised gardens. They have some that are great for putting the plants directly into the earth. I didn't pay attention to that. I just got soil, and it seems to be working okay. I used about 2.5 of those big bags, once my cute little veggies started sprouting, I transplanted them into the bed on my front porch. It's really important that when you are sprouting your plants that you keep them moist. I'm not saying to drench them in water, but just make sure the soil stays moist. You can see that my broccoli was a little sad when I was transplanting it. They didn't get as much water, or they didn't stay as moist as some of the other ones. And so once it was warm, I went in and I transplanted. And a couple weeks later, you'll see the results of how gorgeous everything all turned out. So at this point, I may need to thin out some of my veggies, but at this point, they're still doing great. And I will be happy if you guys are interested to do a follow-up of my first veggie once they're ready. So stay tuned. I hope this was helpful. Remember to plan before you plant and do your research as well. Once your plants start thriving, look up and figure out how I can continue to keep caring for them, how to prune, how to remove your vegetables. So once I get to the point where my vegetables are ready to be removed and put together for a fun salad, before I do that, I'll be sure to share that. Maybe I'll share the recipe that I make with my carrots or my squash or whatever it is that I take out. All right, enjoy and happy growing. Turn those thumbs green.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to tune in again and visit the online resource center at pgparks.com, your one-stop shop for fun and fitness at home. This is the place to live more, play more, indoors.